Welcome to Schweitzer Drive, a podcast where we explore what goes on between the generation of electricity and the light switch. Join Dave Whitehead as he interviews the entrepreneurs, innovators, and experts who are inventing the future of electric power.
Hi, I'm Dave Whitehead, CEO at Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories, and today I'm going to be talking with Dr. Ed Schweitzer, President, Founder, Chief Technology Officer, and Chairman of the Board at SEL, and David Costello, Chief Sales and Service Officer at Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. Ed is one of our reoccurring guests on the podcast, so many of you know who he is, but some of you may want to understand or have a quick background. Ed founded SEL in 1982, sold the first microprocessor-based relay in 1984, and continues to invent new protection, automation, and control products and solutions every day for electric power systems. David Costello is a first-time interviewee on the podcast. David joined SEL in 1996 as a field application engineer and has served in a variety of roles, including regional service manager, senior application engineer, technical support director, national sales and customer service director, and senior vice president of sales and customer service. Dave has authored more than 30 technical papers and 25 application guides. Welcome, Ed and Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. It's an honor to be here with both of you.
Oh, this is going to be fun. So today we're going to be discussing technical customer service. And I'll give a little background on why I picked this topic. So I had two incidences recently about customer service. One is I had a problem with my cable box, and I ended up calling the service center for it. I had wonderful service. The guy walked me through everything I needed to do. He actually called me up an hour later saying, "Hey, are you able to watch the football game?" And I said, "Yeah, I am. Thank you very much for following up." Great service. My counter experience to that was I had this treadmill, and it stopped working, and I got online and got a phone number, but the phone number was to press 1 if you want to talk to this, press 2 if you wanted. Never actually got to anybody. Ended up just getting rid of the treadmill altogether because I couldn't get it to work and nobody would help me with it. So those are my two.
Should have called me. I would have been right over there to help you fix it, Dave.
My treadmill? Well, it was actually a Linux product. The whole thing was based on this.
Never mind.
Yeah, all right. So this got me thinking about all of the different customer service experiences that we've had and what we try to do here at SEL. So, David, what is a technical customer support person, or as we call them, application engineers?
Well, thanks for the question, Dave. And I love your story about the cable box and the technical support person following up with you. That shows they care. That really means a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The name implies that application engineers help customers apply SEL products. Of course, we do that by listening and understanding the problems our customers are trying to solve, understanding our customers' objectives and requirements, and teaching. And one of the things that I love about being an application engineer and our application engineers is that over time, being close to the customer, as we like to say, they develop lasting and trusting relationships. Our application engineers have to understand our products first, all of our products, and the power and communication systems in which they operate. And when we say they teach, they do that through a number of different ways and daily interactions with customers through email, video teleconferences, phone calls. They teach through writing application guides and technical papers, and maybe nowadays a more modern version is publishing videos. And then they also present at conferences in the industry and in our own seminars and classes. I think to be a great application engineer, you need to have a natural curiosity, a willingness to help people and serve, as your example with the cable box showed, and you have to be an effective communicator.
That's a lot of skills for one engineer, and something you probably just don't learn right away in engineering school. Hey, Ed, I was talking to one of our technical support representatives, a young gentleman named David Dwyer, and he asked me the question. I thought it'd be maybe other folks at SEL and other places, certainly probably a lot of our customers. But he wanted to know, where did Dr. Schweitzer come up with the application engineer concept?
Well, thanks, Dave. The concept originated when I realized that we were introducing new technology to the electric power industry that protective relays in 1984 were predominantly electromechanical, and here are completely different methods of protecting power system by sampling the data and so forth. So because of the technical nature of these products, we needed to have engineers skilled in the art who could actually teach our customers how to use these products, to apply them correctly. And it's really been a wonderful value proposition all along that our field application engineers who provide their services for free, for no extra cost beyond the purchase of the product, for as long as our customers need the support, we provide that. And I really believe that every day our application engineers are helping customers understand things that the products do that they weren't even aware of. And when they have problems with it, our AEs are helping them solve those problems or understand exactly how they operated. So, I foresaw this need in 1984, and I was fulfilling that need on a daily basis for a couple of years, trying to do a bunch of other stuff, kind of like Bob Dylan with the cymbals on his knees and a harmonica strapped to his head and the guitar in his lap, So it was too much to try to do research and development and also help customers. So this made career opportunities for others. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful, deep-rooted aspect of SEL culture and customer service.
Let me follow up a little bit. You said that you don't charge for this application engineering support, and I could probably make a strong argument that an application engineer can spend many hours helping a customer through various parts of deploying or setting or maybe analyzing an event report. So there is certainly a cost associated with having an expert in power system protection on the phone helping out customers. Why free as opposed to setting up a service agreement with somebody, which I can imagine lots of other companies have done?
Yeah, we've seen things like that where you call in to get some support for maybe a software product and, do you have a service contract? And you only have another 2 hours and 15 minutes left on it. So here's a customer trying to solve a problem. And in our industry, many of our customers are out in the field somewhere trying to get the lights back on, and they're having trouble understanding exactly how something works. And we need to be there 24/7 in order to do that. And with our wonderful application engineers, we are.
Yeah, I think that brings a lot of appreciation for our customers. We buy some software products where if we want to talk to somebody, we do have to pay a service agreement for it. And often we find we're troubleshooting a product we paid for the company that we bought it for. So we're paying to solve their problems. It's just terrible. Right?
It is, Dave. You know what that's like as maybe some companies do the same thing with their service departments. We have a 10-year warranty, no questions asked. We never charge anybody to fix or repair or replace anything. And many other businesses look at their service departments as a revenue stream. And as soon as you look at that, then a company is rewarding itself for unquality. And I won't have any part of that.
No.
Ed, Dave, one thing that comes to mind is listening to both of you speak is that when you charge for service or charge for warranty work, you run the risk of putting a barrier up between yourself and the customer, so that there's a reason for them not to call because they incur an expense every time they do, and instead we promote this open and honest two-way communication and dialogue. And we, of course, benefit from that. With our warranty work, we get to learn how our products are behaving out in the field, and we use that to improve how we design and manufacture products. And same thing goes with our application engineers. We learn through our listening to how our customers apply products, the challenges they're running into. We learn from event analysis, and we use all of that to help improve the next generation of products.
Very good point, David. Hey, I got a question for you, David. You were an SEL customer before you joined SEL as one of our first application engineers, which was really a very small group back in 1996. What appealed to you about taking that job?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. I worked for Central Power and Light and Central and Southwest as a system protection engineer for half a dozen years before joining SEL, and I can today I can vividly recall being in a substation late on a Friday and calling SEL for technical support. We were installing an SEL 321 in a permissive overreaching transfer trip scheme, a pot scheme on a 345 kV transmission line. And of course, I was injecting fault signals at one end of the line as a young engineer, and the relays were tripping high speed unexpectedly. And Carl Zimmerman was my technical support person at the time. I got Carl, and Carl asked me what we were up to, and we did some troubleshooting with me on the phone, and quickly educated me on EchoLogic and its role in weak in-feed systems, and helped me change appropriate settings for my application. And I remember Carl coming and trying out a commissioning worksheet for the SEL 587 transformer differential relay. First time he'd ever tried that in a teaching event with customers. And of course, we adopted that and used it every time we put a transformer differential in service. And Ed, I know you'll remember coming with application engineer Dean Hardester to Tulsa, Oklahoma back in, it would have been 1993 or 4, to speak to us at a company event and teach us about a number of technical topics, and hang out with us after the event in a hospitality room as well. And those things, they just made an impression. As a customer, I appreciated the availability and accessibility of SEL experts. I appreciated their ready and free help and support. I read and consumed everything that SEL engineers read, and I guess simply put, I looked up to and had admiration for SEL engineers back then. I still do today, of course, and I aspired to be part of the team, and mainly because it looked like they were smart, they were working on challenging and fun things, and they looked like they were having a heck of a lot of fun too.
Ed, you've had the application engineer group since really the beginning of the company. Have you seen any benefits that happen on both sides of the equation, of the benefits both the customer and SEL in maybe unexpected ways?
Oh, you bet. So as David explained, we developed these very close and personal working relationships with our customers. And it goes beyond the application engineer. We have wonderful sales representatives and customer service representatives and our application engineers. It's sort of like a three-legged stool, except these legs, they actually overlap in many dimensions to be there all the time with our customers, whether they're solving a problem, designing a new scheme, ordering new equipment, trying to learn some new technology. And by us being there, we learn. Many customers have asked us things like, hey, could you modify your product to do this because of that? And we have taught ourselves that when a customer brings an opportunity, which is a technical thing in that case, to us, that we need to look at it in the domain of the customer's experience and knowledge as well as our own, the union of those, not the intersection. And a lot of creativity and invention has come from that. It's this spark of need that is transferred to the application engineer, who might sit down with somebody in R&D and come up with something new. In fact, mirrored bits emerged from a conversation a long, long time ago with a particular customer who had a particular problem. And I came home and thought about it, and there it went.
That's awesome. It's what I've noticed, and what you sort of reminded me too, though, is it's the customer and our application engineers, it's really a relationship. It's much more than, say, some transactional event that occurs between a supplier and a customer. Rather, these are long relationships we build. It's almost like having a buddy, a friend, a partner that can help you solve problems is what we've really established with application engineers.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. Sometimes when we do new products that we've had application engineers come in here and take part in the qualification testing of the products. And what a great way to really learn a new technology. Or I remember when Ken Barrett came out from Wisconsin and spent a few weeks here to write the SEL 2020 instruction manual. What a great experience. So it's just been great to see all the different ways that we all work together.
Hey, David, you mentioned being involved with R&D. What benefits are there for a strong relationships between technical support and R&D? Do you have any, let's call them fun examples of how this has worked well?
Yeah, of course. We in helping apply products, you see how those products are behaving, and we help customers analyze event data, and I really believe that's part of a strong and active feedback loop to improving our products that exist today and inventing the new products for tomorrow. I've had the honor and privilege of working with Ed on a technical paper. We wrote a paper together on reliability and fault tree analysis and promoting the use of dual blue SEL relays for both primary and backup. I got to reference that paper just last Friday in a meeting with a customer, and of course I remember working with Stan Zokel, the great Stan Zokel, writing a paper about our high impedance bus protection relay, the 587Z, and we got to spend some time in a high current lab running high current fault tests on our relays. And of course, we were working on simpler, more secure setting recommendations in light of customers using that relay with a variety of CTs. And what a privilege that was. But I think my favorite story, Dave, has to do with recloser controls in the late 1990s. A customer in Oklahoma, Brad Truitt and Western Farmers Electric Co-op, had approached me. I was the local application engineer and technical support, and Brad was a customer. And of course, we developed a close friendship as well over the years. And he approached us in the late 1990s. He had a particular problem. He needed event report analysis or event reports to analyze. He wanted the ability to get SCADA data to and perform controls from his SCADA system, and he needed to perform under voltage and under frequency load shedding with these AC powered recloser controls that he was using. And that led to working with a bunch of talented engineers in research and development, Tony Lee, Mark Feltus, Jerry Hine, Robert Lopez, to name a few, many, many more. And together with the customer, we developed the 351R. And of course, it did everything that Brad wanted and much more. And then over the years, that product evolved and led to the development of the 651R. And that, of course, has been one of our most successful products. And all of this, I think, came from just very sincerely listening and understanding Brad's true requirements and objectives, and then working hard to exceed them. I don't recall any of us asking first how much money we can make from it. I love that these products are visible. I can't drive my son to his middle school, and I can't drive to the grocery store without passing several of these recloser controls on distribution poles here in and around where I live. So it's just a delight knowing that work that you did and participated in is improving the reliability of the distribution systems around the world, but especially right here, keeping the lights on for my office and my home.
Yeah, David, I understand that you live only 2 blocks from the school, but it still takes you an hour and a half to drive your son to the school so you can pass enough SEL equipment every morning.
Nothing wrong with that, David. Nothing wrong with that.
There may be some truth to that.
You mentioned writing papers with Ed and Stan, and what a privilege it was. I remember the very first paper I wrote with Ed. He was getting ready to get on an airplane, go visit a customer, and he says, "Hey, print a copy out of the rough draft so I can take a look at it, and I'll provide your feedback." And he took off and got on one of the airplane phones. It's one of those kind of thing talking. And he goes, "Hey," he called me up. "Hey, Dave, I've read through the paper. It looks pretty good right now. First comment is you spelled my name wrong." And then it went downhill from there. No, it ended up being a great paper. I just remember that was my first experience. It's like note to self.
Well,
check the boss's name.
I don't think Dave did spell my name wrong, but I wanted to get him off guard.
And it did. All right. I've got a question for both of you. You both have written a lot of papers around the theme of lessons learned and having to do with event analysis and reports that show what happened during a fault, but not necessarily explaining why. That you get an event report and there's some interesting thing there. Is maybe the cause of it is not particularly obvious. It seems like the role of the application engineer is to be a teacher. Would both of you like to comment on that assertion?
Oh my goodness. We think about how important it is for us to be inventing the future. That's a big part of what SEL is we're not fighting for shelf space. We're trying to expand the domain of what people can do with electric power. So we do innovative things. You look at the T400L, for example, and now its bigger cousin, the T401L. And these products have tremendous amount of innovation in them. How do these traveling wave elements work? How well do they work? How do the time domain elements work? And the megahertz rate sampling of the new event reports with the time sync down to the maybe 10 nanoseconds of absolute time. There's tremendous new tool. And here we are when we're introducing this technology around the world to many utilities, and we're getting hundreds and then thousands of event reports that we are all learning together as an industry. R&D folks, the field application engineers, we know it's going to work, but we don't know how well it's going to work and what all are the different kinds of problems that we can be solving. And my goodness, it's been a real education. Another whole era of protection is beginning, and our application engineers are right there helping our customers get this new technology installed and collecting the event reports, discovering things about instrument transformers, about electrical breakdown, about how the traveling waves really bounds and when do they go through the fault and when don't they, all kinds of interesting things. And to the point now that we were able to put a new capability in the T401L to monitor a transmission line and start to look for partial breakdowns along it. We had never even envisaged such an idea at the beginning and never would have had we not gone through this very innovative teaching and learning, engaging process between R&D, application engineers, and our customers.
David, your thoughts?
Well, Ed mentioned learning together, that with our customers, our industry, all of us are learning together. And it brought back a thought that when I joined SEL, many people told me that if I loved to learn and I loved to teach, that I would love to be an application engineer. And that's very, very true. I think I mentioned having a natural curiosity. It helps to have that. And there's no shortage of things to learn from analyzing real world event data. Our first relays sampled the power system 4 times the power system cycle, and now every microsecond in the T401L. And it's just phenomenal what you can see going on the power system from that type of resolution. I fear sometimes writing lessons learned papers that about misoperations and the root cause analysis, and then pointing out what should have been done or what could have been done, that I perhaps got a reputation as a bit of a Monday morning quarterback. And I've said this many times, it's a lot easier to set a relay after the fault with the benefit of with the benefit of all the data and hindsight and a nice office and a cup of coffee. But Ed, one of the coolest documents ever, I think, is the advertisement that you created for the SEL 21, and you spoke about event reports as the eyes and ears of the power system, and vent analysis allows us, it facilitates that understanding, getting to root cause, and then creating and simplifying how we protect and control power systems. I love that detective work of analyzing events. But then you're right, it leads to invention. And it reminds me that an SEL 587, for example, wasn't just a microprocessor-based version of an HU transformer differential. It was better. It improved the art. And a 487E isn't just a bigger version of a 587 with more I/O and more protocols. It's better in terms of security, sensitivity, speed, simplicity. And I'd like to think, and I do believe that improvement comes from this learning from events and taking those lessons, applying them to improving products and our art and science.
That's great. One of that I forgot who said it, but somebody said at one point is you really don't understand a subject until you can teach it. And I think that's one of the great things about the application engineers. They really are apparatus and power system protection experts. Ed, you've insisted, not just recommended, rather insisted on providing outstanding customer service. What do you see as outstanding customer service, and do you have any examples of what done looks like?
Well, sure. There's a number of facets to it, or components to the vector. One of the most important is the spirit of continuous improvement. And I'm not just talking about shrinking operating times and advances in MTBF or making things easier to apply, but also talking about, our ability now to simulate so accurately with power system simulators to get a good idea ahead of time. And of course, when that gets to be a big enough thing, that is an engineering services function beyond what the application engineers would normally do. But for outstanding customer service, the whole goal is to be there hand in hand with a customer so that we're always doing better. And when it comes to some of the technology things that you and David were just talking about, it's kind of like moving from a X-ray to a CAT scan with tremendous clarity is what's going on. The things that we do with installations, some of our application, and many of them take part in the setting of the relays and helping customers test the first ones they are using in installations, until really being right there hand in hand with the customer until the customer is entirely confident, analyzing the event reports, troubleshooting problems, being there at conferences, whether they're in person or the COVID sorts of conferences we do now, and being part of this team with the sales folks and with these overlapping functions, so that it ain't my job to do that. It's our job to delight our customers. Drucker said the purpose of a company is to make a customer. I shouldn't argue with him, but I like to say the purpose of a company is really to make a customer happy. And with outstanding customer service, we're really partners. It's not a buyer and a seller, but it's really partnering to be in this together, making electric power safer, more reliable, more economical. The lights stay on 24/7, and we have to be there 24/7. So one of the cool things that we've done in customer service, I think, is to ensure our customers that they have the technical application engineering support around the clock. And we can do that these days. We couldn't do it in 1984, but we can do it in 2020 because we do have application engineers around the world, and that makes that possible. And providing that service now. Provide that service now. I have a question right now, and answering it right now is extremely valuable. Yep. Answering it a week later when somebody's got to make another trip back out to the field is about as interesting as cold mashed potatoes.
It's not the way you want to have your pizza show up at your doorstep.
No, a week late, half eaten. That's right.
Exactly. David, I've got a question for you, and this sort of relates to, say, I'm a young kid right out of school, or I'm thinking maybe there's some other things I'd like to try. And I'm also asking you as your boss, is SEL has more than 100 application engineers in the U.S. and others around the world. What the heck do they do all day?
Dave asked me that question on an airplane once, and I thought maybe of suggesting he should step outside and think about it.
I remember famously he asked you, what do you do all day? And that's a legendary story now.
Let's put that into context, though. That was
now
my
that
boss.
You have that job, it's it might come back to haunt you.
Well, just for the audience, real quick. So it's been a long day on the East Coast. We were flying back home. We've been up since our time, maybe 3:00 in the morning, and it was getting to be past dinner time, probably getting closer to bedtime. And I weirdly looked over at Ed across the aisle, and I said, "Ed, I know what an engineer does all day. What the heck do you do?" Right? And if you've ever seen Ed give you the RCA dog look, that's exactly the one I got. And I quickly scrambled and came up with, no, Ed, you're the CEO of a growing, fast-growing company, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't have to go outside to rethink that question. But that was the employee asking the boss what the heck the boss did all day. This, I'm turning it around, is, David, what do your guys do all day?
Well, we all appreciate your directness and silver-tongued communication style, Dave. The typical day for an application engineer at SEL involves helping customers select the right product for their application need. It certainly includes supporting our sales team in their efforts to promote and sell products. It always involves teaching, and it may be teaching an existing product like an SEL 587 or some new technology like traveling wave protection in the T401L. We also support products for life. So not just in helping you select and buy something, but things like helping customers analyze an event report after a system operation or getting some service bulletin or warranty support taken care of. And all of that is done probably in every single day. And then I spoke earlier about working with R&D and providing feedback on our how we might improve products further. It's very challenging. You never know where the question's going to come from, whether it's going to be about a communications issue or a protection issue or anywhere in between, but it's certainly fun. Every single day, it seems like now I get solicitations about things like business to business products and services, or how to turn your customer service into self-serve models, or even outsourcing our customer care or centralizing our service to a call center. I think the central theme in a lot of these is about lowering the cost of technical support. And I'd like to commend and thank you, Ed, and you, Dave, and the entire executive team at SEL. I can never recall a time when any of you have asked me to justify the ROI of an application engineer and that benefit of a human answering the phone, providing expert and available technical support to our customers. And that's not to say that we don't care about utilization, being efficient, productive, or getting more effective in what we do. Of course, we do those things. But as much as we love data-driven decisions and talking about numbers, we also focus on actions that lead to numbers. And AEs, I think, are a vital part of that team that does the actions, the customer care, the technical support, the teaching that leads to numbers. And it certainly helps that we have your support, Ed, and your support, Dave. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you. And I have a lot of respect for our application engineers, and certainly our application engineers out of our entire population of engineers here at SEL are what I'll refer to as the social folks, right? Really great personalities, outgoing. It's a certainly a unique engineering trait, if you will. And this kind of follows on to my next question, both Ed and David, is many application engineers this year are work from home. There's lots of articles about maybe this will become a full-time thing. We're recording this episode in the middle of October, and we're seeing an uptick. So this has really kept application engineers from meeting face-to-face with customers. So where do you think we're going to go? What do you think the impact might be on this act or art of application engineering? And what are some of your thoughts on what perhaps I hate the phrase new normal, but the way things might look going forward in this, what I'll say is really a personal engineering activity, interfacing with your customers directly. And given that we just can't do this, and we probably won't be able to do this for, let's pick your name, another 6 months, another year or so before we'll get back into that. So I'm going to be quiet and let Ed and David kind of share their thoughts on that.
Well, it's pretty exciting. And you talked about how application engineers are often the social engineers. And let's face it, all of we people are indeed social creatures. We want to be close to one another and interact with one another. And here in this time of physical distancing, so we slow and control the spread of a very tricky virus, we do need to be socially close. And our application engineers' roles these days are more important than ever. Fortunately, we got off to a pretty good, we're already pretty good at so-called work from home, because many of our application engineers have home offices and serve their customers wherever they are. And they spend a lot of times doing so on their phones. And now we've gotten better and better tools that we're all accustomed with these days. But in many ways, we were pioneering this being close socially, even though we were separated physically. So with even these better tools that we have, anything from somebody picking up their phone and using a video phone call to virtual conferences, that we're really getting closer and closer. We've also figured out how to put together kits of equipment to send out to our customers so that they can experiment with new technology and get to know it, and where they also know that they have access to an application engineer to walk them through that experience. So we've really made this thing work, and I think it's going to change things pretty much forever. I think it's going to change the way we look at work, and that many nascent technologies are really being grabbed out of tremendous business and personal need, and probably maybe the most important part of our company that's affected by this are our field application engineers.
David, your thoughts? You used to be an application engineer, visiting customers daily, and certainly that has changed. I'm interested just to hear your thoughts.
Sure, thank you. Early on, I vividly remember spending hours upon hours and days upon days behind the windshield with our sales reps, Dave Johnson and many others, and visiting customers and teaching classes. And then in the late 1990s and 1997, we came up with this concept of the I-44 relay conference, and it was a 2.5-day hands-on training event. It really became the model for how we do regional interactive seminars that part of the fun, and of course the benefit was getting together face to face and doing hands-on training, and that those kind of activities came quickly to a halt this spring as we all practiced physical distancing and taking all precautions necessary to keep each other safe. And that said, customers' power systems didn't turn off, and the needs and the requirements and their wanting to learn didn't stop overnight, and we had to shift really, really fast. And I think one of the things that's been fun about this year in a weird way is we've been challenged to be creative and to get fast, trying things that, to be honest, maybe a year ago we would have come up with lots of reasons why those things won't work, or they won't be good enough, or they won't be as good. And this year we've done online SEL University classes. We've done remote field acceptance tests and demonstrations over video teleconference. We've done online video seminars to replace those interactive in-person seminars to well over 1,000 customers. And we went from, idea to putting the event on literally in just days or a couple of weeks. It was just phenomenal. So I'm really proud of how people have responded. And I think Ed's right. There's going to be times where maybe we would have jumped in the car or on a plane to go visit somebody, and now we'll be more open to using the tools and the technology that are at our fingertips. And there's a benefit to that, of course. And then I'm gaining hours back in my life to spend working with other customers or spending time at home with my family and friends.
Yeah, driving that hour and a half to school every day.
Exactly.
Well, Ed and David, thank you guys very much for spending some time talking about application engineers. I certainly have a better appreciation for the role and all they do. Out of all of our engineering disciplines, this is probably the one that's going to evolve the most after this COVID-19. New ways to connect with customers, because the application engineer there's such a personal relationship between what we do and what the customer is doing. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing next year where our application engineers have evolved.
We'll be right there wherever our customers are, and of course their lives have changed a lot too, and we're being very adaptive.
And I'm always thankful and appreciative of the trust our customers place in us. We take our role very, very seriously, and very thankful in the trust and their continued business, of course.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Ed, Dave. My pleasure.
Thanks, David.
Thank you for stopping by Schweitzer Drive. Join us again as we learn about, explore, and celebrate electric power. For more information about the show, please visit selinc.com/Schweitzer Drive.